You want to start by telling us your name, where you were born, and when you were born.
Well, my name is Leo Zelmanovich. I was born in September 11, 1925, in Mukachevo, today the Soviet Union. It used to be Czechoslovakia.
And can you tell us a little bit about your early life in Mukachevo?
My early life, well, how much I recall backwards, my childhood, so-called, okay, till. Well, how much I remember to recall from the beginning of school. I started in going to attending Czech school. And I went to school till 36. It was the 5th grade. No, 35, yeah, 36. And then there is a higher grade to attending school. I cannot translate it in English, comparable to English schools. But whatever, there was, after 5 grades of public school, you had to attend 4 grades, beginning 1 till 4, to go to college. Okay, so I went to start this school. That was 1937. I mean, yeah, 36-37 school year. The second year, that was 1938. So then the war started already. And that part of Czechoslovakia was turned over to Hungary. So all so-called my child plans was started to be disturbed. So I had to adjust when the Hungarians came in. Czech school as such, Czech education was finished, so I had to adjust to a Hungarian language. At that time I didn't speak any Hungarian, no. But there was Ukraine school, similar to it. And so I started to attend the Hungarian because Ukraine was a lot farther. Until, at the same time, it started to, anti-Semitism started to grow.
It had not been in effect before that?
It had not been during the Czechoslovakian Republic. So I attended school beginning from September till about Easter time. At that time, most of the Jewish kids quit school because of it was that much pressure to make them quit.
What kind of pressure?
All kind of quiet political pressure because of being a Jew, you understand? So I was one of the last kids who quit school. Most of the kids dropped out in January, February, and so on and so on. And everybody's tried to find, all those kids tried to find a alternative education or whatever. So then, how should I say, my generation turned towards some professional, some trade, to get some trade education or, some other, because of not be able to attend school to go to college and higher. So in 1941, that time, when the war started in 1941 already with the Soviet Union, I mean, Germany attacked the Soviet Union, and the same thing, Hungary was in, how should I say, in good relations with Germany.
With Germany.
With Germany.
They were like allies?
They were allies, yeah, they were allies. So, like Germany attacked Poland, the same thing Hungary took. They were promised part of it.
Part of Poland.
How much politics I do understand at that time in my...
You were a child.
Yeah, I was a child, 41 I was 16 years old. And life turned completely different way, like you planned, because of the same, I was the youngest in the family. and with my family, my brother's family lived. But my brother was forced, at that time when it started already, the anti-Semitism, then Jews as such couldn't be drafted to the army. So they were drafted to a workforce. And the same thing was my brother. He was born in 1907. So, and my father was already at that time 65 years old. And my father, so my family, so they lived they had some farming, custom farming. This way they made a living. But because of
Jews were allowed to own land and farm?
oh, sure, yeah, that was Czechoslovakian
So it was all right.
before. And then still who owned land, depends most of the time who owned a lot of land. Most of the people didn't own a lot of land, so-called. So I don't know who owned a lot of land, how it was related to them. And then, so most of the part of the, how should I say, of the supply of the family, so was lying on me. But in 1941, when I started, let me go backwards, I started to go to learn a trade, a cabinet maker, okay? And I worked I learned the trade about 6 months, and then my, how should I say, the owner of the shop was drafted, so he was forced to close the shop, and I was again out. So this way, I went completely, say when that shop owner was drafted the same time when my brother was drafted to that work army, and I had to, so I was the supplier at 16 years.
It's a heavy
So,
responsibility.
So my brother, before he lost his wife in 1939, so I was the father, so-called the father, the younger father for 4 kids, which the oldest kids was, let me say, 10 years old, and the youngest was 5 years old. So I felt a responsibility, and, 4 kids to live in. So this way, and so we tried to survive. A lot of ways to search for survival. I went, like I said, I did custom farming, and I worked with horses and hauling something or whatever. Till 1944, somewhere in March. Then, it was growing. That time, all the Jews were concentrated into ghettos.
So as late as 44, you were still free and still able to work?
We were still everybody wasn't, we felt the pressure, but we were hearing what was going on, not much, and especially my age didn't pay much attention to it because, 44 was 19 years old. And a few months, so this way, and till in 44 was a year older from me, they were already drafted the same to the workforce, my friends, but my age didn't fall into the drafting to the workforce, to the so-called, they were drafted, helpers to the military, whatever the military needed, they were doing the same like militarized workforce. So in 1944, in March, we were concentrated into camps. They were telling me that all the Jews are transferred out. We didn't know where.
How were you notified of that? How was that told to you?
People were talking, they were talking, and then, if you want specifically, we knew that there is going to be. They started, first of all, to empty in the city. They emptied a few, how should I say, those places where they make bricks. How is it called? Those?
I guess a brick factory, a foundry?
Brick factory, brick factories. So the brick factories, that was early in the spring, they didn't work because they worked only summertime. It was right away after the frozen land, they didn't work. So all the brick factories were first surrounded, occupied by the Hungarian military, so by the gendarmerie, so-called, and It was prepared to concentrate all the Jews in those. And in the city, they were concentrated. 2 streets were locked out and concentrated like a ghetto. And this was camps for the surrounding villages all brought in. It was.
Were you just told to come?
We were, so when one morning, a day before, we were so-called collected, okay? Then the elder of the village came and said, you shouldn't leave the house and you shouldn't go. The same way, the village was already surrounded by police.
Hungarian police.
Hungarian police, yeah, and you couldn't leave, you couldn't go out, you couldn't leave the village. And the next morning, they came to the house, the elder with a policeman, and take your, whatever you can take along, and give up your valuables. They made so-called
Receipt?
receipt.
But it meant nothing.
It meant nothing, definitely it didn't mean nothing.
But you were told to hand over your valuables?
Yeah, we were told to hand over the valuables.
To the Hungarian police?
To the authorities, I
Yeah.
mean, the local authorities, whatever. And then we were collected to the school. So there where I lived, we were 40 families, 40 Jewish families lived.
Were you given a reason for this? Were you told why? No.
Just because of Jewish.
You're Jewish.
Because of Jews, nothing else.
You didn't say they didn't say where you were going
They
to go.
didn't say. They were talking about that somewhere in Hungary, somewhere there was a so-called desert area, or that there we are going to work or whatever. That's what people were talking about. We knew. So in the morning, in a couple hours, the 40 families were concentrated in a schoolyard. And in the afternoon, we were everybody driven by wagons. It's not far to the city. It's about 2 miles only to that camp, to that that brick factory.
Now, who was there? It was you, your 4?
I was there. Me, my father, and my sister came over from another town where she lived. And the 4 kids, my brother's 4 kids.
And your mother?
My mother died a couple months before. So, and from in there, in that camp, we were approximately 4 weeks.
What town was that?
That was still in Mukachevo. Yeah.
Mukachevo.
And we were put in boxcars. About 80, 90 people jumped into small 30-ton boxcars and transferred straight to Auschwitz. And in Auschwitz, right when we arrived in the morning, I don't remember how many days we drove, you know.
Did people die in the boxcars?
It was suffocating because there wasn't where to use the bathroom, nothing. But people had to use wherever he stays, and no questions asked. No water, no nothing. It's for 3 or 4 days, I think so. And then when they took us out, when we arrived to Auschwitz, I remember, so there was already prepared, there was a long train, about 40 boxcars or whatever. The train let us leave everything what we brought with us.
In the boxcar? In
the boxcars. And go out and walk. So we walked, later on I knew that it was Mengele.
It was Mengele.
That's what they were saying, that Mengele divided, you know, make decisions. And, but if it wasn't Mengele, it was similar to Mengele.
Else.
And you go left, you go right. I mean straight, and you go left. That's what I remember.
You were told to go left?
I was told to go left. And my father, my sister, and the 4 children, my brother's children, went straight. And then when we went left, we were concentrated into before a bathhouse. And they made us to take a shower, and everybody got shaved and cut off the hair, girls, men. And then we had to leave our clothes, and everybody got those
uniforms?
You know, those striped forms, those concentration camp uniforms. And then go through a bath, and then sent to a certain so-called lager. And we were, from there, we went about a mile, or maybe less. I don't remember, because I lived there, I was there only 2 weeks in that camp, in Auschwitz, I mean, in that camp. But that was horrible, because there was 3 floors of people, and they were yelling always, driving to bedroom, from the bedroom, driving for breakfast, after breakfast, and so on. And then one morning they announced, whoever is a carpenter should. So, carpenter, okay. And everybody, who was there, there were people who were already there. Then they say, whatever you feel you can do, just say you can do it and try to leave this place.
Did you know at that point that your entire family was killed?
That time, yeah, during the 2 weeks, they said, because we saw there was the square chimneys, big square chimneys going up, and they said, you see, you think, but this is, you see, those chimneys, those people, those smoke go out in the smoke. You could, you couldn't absorb, you couldn't believe it, because you were like numb that time. And I still didn't believe that time. It's impossible. How can it be done to human beings? But whatever. After 2 weeks, we were conscious, so I don't remember. We were about 1,500 people, selected carpenters. And the next morning, we were put on a train, and we were taken on a train towards, today is it Schweidnitz, it's called in German, not far from Schweidnitz, about 18 kilometers, that's what they were talking. Later I found out how far we are from Schweidnitz. So that place called Wolfsberg. There was a village, Hausdorf, and a Wüstegisdorf, little town, but that empty place, it's a hillside.
And it was Germany?
No, not in West Germany. That, I don't know, was it Poland or was it East Germany?
The name sounds German.
The name sounds, well, it was occupied by Germans, so everything was named German.
I see.
Do you understand? That's what I mean. So then, there, when we arrived, there was about 300 elder people already, older people in that camp. And it wasn't enough room to sleep, so we slept outside a few days. And carpenters come here, so I spoke German because I grew up, I say, where I grew up, there was 4 languages common. So I grew up with 4 languages. So I spoke German, and I was right away turned to build. We built so-called 20 people lived in a
cabin, or
so-called cabin, but it was a prefabricated. We had just to put together, to know how to put together. And so I was asked, "Are you understanding? Here is a blueprint." And he told me how to do it. I said, "Yeah." I picked it up very fast, and so we started to. And there was uphill. So some people cleaned out the place, flattened out, evened it out, and I with 2 more people built those cabins. So we made a day about 3 cabins a day. And you just had to put together screws and stand up, and in a little oven was in the middle. So it was that was my job approximately for 2 months, or even less, I don't remember.
Did you have any idea why they were building these cabins?
For people they were, yeah, sure. First of all, for people, for us, for ourselves, because we were jumped and we had to loosen up for people. And then people are still going to come because there was the whole hillside was built, there was built tunnels, and there was built water lines and all kinds of stuff. Quite a few companies, I remember. The companies was, for example, tunnels was built by the name of Ackermann, and firma Ackermann, and then there was a company, but her name was Dubner. They built buildings for military, something had to do with military, but the tunnels was built definitely for some military purposes, to build some plants or something in the mountains. And there was and then after I finished, then we were then I started to work on bigger projects. Later, after 2 months, whole buildings, the same like put together buildings, but for the guards, there was about 12 rooms. You know, a big building for 12 rooms, 2 sides, six rooms. But I saw the project, so he explained to me, the master. He was there, but most of them later on I understood it, so we managed the whole thing to do together. That was my job about till the fall. Then in the fall, the building, that preparedness for 4 people to live was enough. And then I was sent to work by the firm was named Hotze. And we built, I don't know what it was, a water tower or something had to do up in the mountains. And there we had to wheelbarrow, every day wheelbarrow gravel and sand and cement to prepare to build this. So we wheelbarrow those sands every day. About 400 wheelbarrows up, a wheelbarrow up and then empty down, you know, like a chain.
Right.
And the chain we were about, it was a long distance, it was about approximately, it could be a mile long.
Wow.
A mile long and up the hill. So in this way, when this was already prepared, so there was about, because I remember, as I said, 6 altogether, the whole material was contained about 6 boxcars of, not 6 more, I don't remember it, whatever.
A lot.
A lot, because it was a very big building. And when everything was prepared, there was cut out a piece of mountain and built that or water tower or whatever, I don't know, it was in 3 sections, because I was there, I was partially working with carpentry work, preparing for those sheets. You know, I made sheets for the concrete to build, and there was some. So when we start to pour the concrete was poured 2 days in a row, non-stop.
Through the night also?
To the night and day and night. In day, I think so. Until it's not done. Because they didn't want to stop the concrete to pour. So we were changed shifts. But that time we worked about 14 hours per
14 hours on, 14 hours off?
No, less than 14 hours on. But 14 hours on. I remember that we were working out till midnight and then let us home, and then in the morning again brought us back. But when that was done, that was already about winter, pretty good into the winter. And so then we had to heat that place to dry it out. I remember we used to heat it with cocks. You know what cocks means? It's a coal.
Oh, coke. Is coke?
Maybe it's called coke in English.
That's been burned partly?
For yeah.
Coke.
Coke, yeah, okay. That's what we used to do, heat it to dry it out, because it was, the whole area was damp. So finally, about in December, no, New Year's we celebrated, we were there still, New Year's. After New Year's, somewhere, and we were talking about, because we were starting to hear, you know, politics goes on, even some people are there, a lot of people. You know, you can, even the guards, some are nice people, some are, it depends on the person, how the person is.
Were the guards mostly Germans? Or
Mostly Germans. Mostly Germans. There was some Germans. There was Only Germans was the guards. I don't know, German uniforms, whatever, but they spoke German. But I will have to say I was lucky because I was working with a guard, I mean close to a guard, who was very nice to me. One was a young, I don't know, maybe 16 years old. He used to tell me, he used to cry. It depended, that's what I say, it depended on the person by itself. There's nothing. And so approximately we stopped working after New Year. All the workers stopped to work. And so then everybody were talking about evacuating because the front is getting close, the front is getting close. So then when we started to evacuate about February, I think so, beginning of February, then we started to walk about 30, 35, 40 kilometers daily and sleep in how should I say, how it was called, you know, where they dry, they have this linen in those places where they dry that linen, those
a shed or something?
Sheds or something like this, you know. There where people started to fall like flies. You know, first the walking, and so during the year people started.
Were they feeding you?
There we were fed once a day, walking, when we walked, once a day. Not always, not always. And then in those sheds we were just stuck in, it wasn't place to lay because one person on another slept. And I had, for example, one night I woke up and I said, who laid on me? I said, I don't remember what his name was, but whatever. I said, wake up, wake up. There was no one to wake up already.
Oh, dear.
So then after 6 or 7 days walking, we were put into boxcars, not boxcars, into gondolas, open. You know, what coal was transferred in. And we were transferred, because I know, through Czechoslovakia to Austria. I know because we stopped, I know why we stopped at Pilsen. There was a Czechoslovakian city, Pilsen. Somehow, I don't know how we knew everything, but they said the walls speak too.
Probably one person knew, one person remembered, they passed the information.
Yeah, but you cannot remember, you see the car, you just see the sky or see a little bit, you know. But there was, so we walked to Pilsen, and then they say, yeah, we noticed there was the Skoda sign or something. Then we said we are behind the Pilsen, behind the Skoda plant. 6 days we were traveling in those boxcars. We weren't fed. We were just, before we were put in the boxcars, everybody got one bread and 1 spoon of jelly. That all was for 6 days. Water, I remember, it was one single time we were lucky that it was snowing a little bit. We were covering ourselves with blankets. That's what we had, just the blankets and nothing else. So we collected the blankets and everybody licked the little snow what could collect in the morning, what was falling. And then when we traveled by train, we were talking, we are going to stop, they are going to leave us at Mathausen. And then we come too close to Mathausen, they said we are not stopping at Mathausen. We are going to go to Ebenze. So this was 60 kilometers from Mathausen.
We're talking about January of 1945?
No, that was already, I said, from February in about till March.
March of 45.
Of 45, yeah. In that period, when we left that Wolfsburg, that Polish, or is it Polish or German place, and then, yeah, when we were, so we arrived to Ebenze, came to that, it is a big camp, there was 32,000 people lived there, but there was already the first time where I met different kinds of so-called, in German they call it Häftlinge. Inmates is called Häftling in German, okay?
Hefting?
Häftling.
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 Okay,
Wanna
we're
stop?
going to stop for a moment
Okay.
and we're going to put in
When we arrived to Ebenze, so we were stopped, and there we went out and walked towards, there was a ready camp, like I said. The 32,000 people lived there. There I met all kinds of political prisoners, political inmates, and there was Italians and Spanish and Polish and Ukrainian and Russian, all kinds. Yeah, so everybody just carried a different color of on the number.
A badge?
Not a badge, just a piece of cloth in different color, a romb, or what was it? And so there we were, and we came in, so there is the same, there is a crematory, and everybody was staying and waiting. We were about 12, or between 12 and 1,500 of us.
In your group?
In our group. So we had the same process go through, to disinfection, to bathing and all this. So everybody, and we stayed the day when we arrived, the night, and the next morning. There was nobody cared if it was somebody thirsty or somebody hungry or cold. It was snow. I remember it was snow because I collected a few blankets. Who left the blankets and went through the bed. So when we went to sleep, a few of us with friends, in the morning we wake up, we said, what, where are we going to stay and be nervous? Let's go to sleep, and tomorrow morning somebody who wants to go earlier. So the next day we went through that process, that disinfection process, and put into so-called quarantine barrack. That barrack was number 25, I remember. It was 25 and 26. We were put into two barracks, and those barracks contained two rooms divided. I mean, one barrack had two big rooms. And from early in the morning till noon, and from after lunch till evening, we sat on the floor, one into other, tight, and we couldn't even move, and the guards were walking. That lasted about a week. We went to the bathroom across by group, came back by group. Only we had a little so-called loosen up when we had lunch, breakfast, or dinner. How big that lunch, breakfast, or dinner was. Okay, it wasn't.
Was it mainly bread again?
No, not bread. It was a cooked meal, but you know, it was a piece of bread. In the evening was a piece of bread with a cooked meal, and breakfast was just a little liquid. Lunch was just a little liquid. Just in the evening, what we had a little, so how should I say, tougher cooked meal with a piece of bread. That lasted a week, I think so. And then we were divided into, into working groups, who were groups. So first, we were checked through how everybody went into a line. I had friends, his physical condition. If somebody's physical condition was three groups, three physical condition groups. Was the first group were to very hard work. And then the second group where I was into, so was enough hard if to working in tunnel and to shovel stones or whatever. And then a third group, but I don't know where they were transferred. So I was transferred to a group. We were about 14 people who worked in tunnels the same. There was tunnels in the mountains. That was already in the Alps. That is in the Alps in Austria. There was about 6 tunnels in one row, and then on top tunnels. So we worked on a small tunnel, I remember. And I worked till about the beginning of April.
Just digging the tunnels?
Digging, yeah, not digging because the tunnel was exploding, and then we were just loading the stone and other units, and it was drilled by compressors and all this kind. But it was hard labor because there was enormous. So about the beginning of April, I felt I can't do it anymore. So and then if you don't feel like going, you have to go to a block Eltester or
Infirmary?
for worker, you know.
To say you were sick?
Yeah, but not to the, yeah. I went to see him and tell him, listen, I can't go anymore. If not, sooner or later I'm going to collapse. So if I go, then they prescribed me to go to the doctor. Go to the doctor. When I came to so finally I said, you shouldn't go because we are going to soon be liberated. And, you know, people go, people talk. They are soon just there. The Americans are there. The Americans, this is there. So, and he kept me semi-sick, not to go to work and not to go to the hospital. Then, about a few days later, he said, I can't keep you anymore. You have to go or to work or to the hospital. So I said, I'm going to go to the hospital. I went to the hospital, and there the doctor says, you are not sick, you're nothing, you just strictly weak, you have to be strong. And I said, but I can't anymore. And there, the so-called hospital, or lazaret it's called, we were 10 people on one double bed. There was 4 in the middle, 4 on the top, and 2 under the bed. And I laid 2 of us under the bed. In the hospital, yeah, when I went into the hospital, but he said, you shouldn't go because there nobody comes alive out. He was open, he said, nobody goes out from alive. I said, what makes a difference to die now or to die later? There is no other way out.
You assumed you were going to die.
Yeah, and not only me, a lot. So it lasted, and I said that my place, when I came in, my place was under the bed. Because first you come in, when who is older, then if somebody dies, they take him out, and then the next gets that place. But it wasn't pleasant on that bed too, because that bed was one-person bed. You know how military bed is, in 4 people. 2 head, you know, and no straw, no nothing, just a board, and that's all. So it wasn't that pleasant. At least on the floor was more room to move those skinny bones. So in this way, I managed to survive till May the 6th. May the 6th, May the 5th, they were talking about that. Yeah, May the 5th was, Mathausen was liberated. And we knew. So we were told, we knew that Mathausen is liberated, next day we are going to be liberated. So just keep strong, keep strong. And the next day, so May the 6th, we saw that some, you know, because we were near the fence, and the guards left and tried to cut off the, it was a chaos. It started to become a chaos, you know. And so the next day when we were liberated, I saw already people in our clothes outside the fence. I didn't still believe. It's impossible. So everybody started to yell, we are liberated, we are free, and I still don't believe it. I came to the fence and I was afraid to step out. Then but everybody was in that room, everybody was naked.
No clothes?
No clothes. No, what for is needed for a dead body to be clothes, okay? So somehow we organized, and everybody found some clothes. Most of us found some clothes, we found some clothes, and then later on they brought from the lager, looks like clothes for us. And I still, it said May the 6th, even the 7th, I saw people walking outside. I was afraid to walk out. So when...
Now at this point, the Americans had not come.
The Americans, the 6th, yeah.
They had come?
They had come.
They didn't come into the hospital and say you're liberated?
I didn't pay attention because, you know, people went crazy. And only a day later, yeah, how was it? Yeah, first people started to bring in food, bring in raw food from the bakery, flour and bread from the bakery. And so then the next day only, because there is everywhere in the concentration camps was a big empty place, a so-called Appelplatz, where they counted every day the people before going to work and coming from work, okay? So in there, when the Americans came in, they were there and they put up kitchens right away and started to feed. Just picked up your bowl and stayed in the line and went to get a bowl of, I remember like today, was it noodles with meat, something like this, in a piece, in a portion of bread. But but it took time. First of all, I tried and I didn't even eat. When I got my portion, my meat, I ate 2 spoons. I didn't feel I can absorb it. And a lot of people got sick from this because when I was liberated, my weight was 38 kilograms. What is it, about 80 pounds?
About 80 pounds.
About 80 pounds, yeah. So, and then we stayed there, yeah, and after we were liberated, then we started to reorganize, so then to register everybody, where he's from and what he, you know, what are you? You are Russian, you are Polish, you are Italian. So I was born in Czechoslovakia. I said, well, what is it now? It is going to be Czechoslovakia, so am I Czechoslovak? So about a month later, we stayed there till a month until we recuperated. It took time, you know. And then we were slowly transferred by military Studebakers to Linz, and from Linz to Pilsen. And in Pilsen we were turned over to the Czechoslovakian Red Cross. And then from there, slowly, I tried to get home. So from Pilsen I went to Prague, from Prague to Brno, from Brno to Bratislava, and from Bratislava to Budapest. It took about a week, 2 weeks from each place to another.
How did you travel? By train?
By train, most of it I traveled. By train I traveled normally till Bratislava. But that time a lot of people traveled. It was a chaos, civilian and non-civilian, military. And from Bratislava to Budapest, I traveled on top on the train a whole night. And in Budapest I was 2 weeks. I stayed in a school. There was already those...
DP camps?
Yeah, camps organized by an American joint organization. And so from there, everybody went home, I go home. Maybe I find somebody. So I went home, and I came home, and I didn't find them, but I was always in a hope. Maybe somebody's going to come. People are still coming. Maybe.
You went back to your house,
I went back to my home, but I didn't find anything in my home, and not my home, so-called, because...
Was someone else living there?
Nobody was living, just it was almost destroyed. You know, people stole out the windows and the doors, and people were trying to search under the floor. Maybe there was something valuable.
You reclaim that house, though?
I reclaimed that house, but I didn't have anything else, so I had to sell it in order to salvage whatever is salvageable. Okay? So slowly, I started to rebuild my life by myself. So, and still I was in hope that, and in about, I don't remember when it was, in 1945, or was it 46 already, when the Russians, there was not known, that area, that Transcarpathian, became a so-called republic, first, a Serb.
What republic?
A Transcarpathian Ukraine, Transcarpathian Ukraine, okay? Republic. And then in 1946, but in the fall of, but the border was already in the fall of 45, was closed, so you could not leave. You could not leave. About, I think so in August, the borders of Transcarpathian, you could not leave, not to Czechoslovakia, not to Hungary, not to Russia even. Everywhere was. So I had to start to build my own life by itself. It took hard time.
How did you do it?
I don't know, life brings it. How did I do it? I don't remember.
How did you start?
People helped, you know, people took me in, and I started, and until
there was no anti-Semitism then?
Well, at that time it wasn't time to look at anti-Semitism. It was no anti-Semitism because who was an anti-Semite, let's say this way, okay? They felt guilty and they hide it. And who was, what could I do? At least, you know, it's a different world. The war is over, you know how it is. And then I started slowly.
Did you work as a carpenter?
No, I didn't work as a carpenter. When I started to work, when I came home, I started to work in a store. I didn't work in a carpenter because that time it wasn't available that much jobs, first of all. Secondly, I had a friend who says, come and work. He managed a store. That time he said, come with me and work in the store, like a sales girl. So, okay, whatever. I'm there. So, and I started, and I liked it, and I was capable of doing it. So, in this way, I started to build up my life.
Your life.
Build my life.
You left when?
I left the Soviet Union here to the United States, 1976.
What made you decide to leave?
What made me decide to leave? Well, you see, slowly later on, first of all, I had relatives here. Secondly, it started the same, the anti-Semitism started to grow. And I thought if there is an opportunity to leave, in 1956 I got married. I had two beautiful daughters. In 1976, in 1975, I got the permission. In 1976 I left. In 1972 I lost my wife. So I was, and so I felt there is no future. Not for religion, not for Jewishness, and not for, so I tried. If there is opportunity to leave, I left, and I'm thankful that I did it.
Did you come to Columbus?
I came straight to Columbus, yeah.
You have relatives here?
No, I came to Columbus just because when I left the Soviet Union, we stayed in Rome. In Rome, they suggested that go to, wherever you want to go. I said, I have cousins in Los Angeles, and I have some relatives, far relatives in New York. So they told me that, why don't you, to New York you can whenever go, and there is no place, because a lot of people were asking to go to New York. They hadn't room enough or whatever. So this way they said, if you want to, you can go to Columbus, it's a nice town. And
This was you and your two daughters?
me and my one daughter.
Your one daughter.
My one daughter. My other daughter was married, so she couldn't come with me. But she came last year, and I'm very happy. She came with 4 kids, and they are here.
That's wonderful. Well, that's quite a story.
It is a story. But it is only terrible, I hope.
What would you say allowed you to survive when so many died?
What would I say allowed me during the concentration?
During the whole period of the Second World War?
During the whole period? Well, I think so, willingness to live in my young age, first of all, I think so helped me. And I try to see it through rosy net, not like the last moment when I thought I don't care.
Yes.
If I would still 1 month more stay, like I said, then I don't think so I would survive.
Where did you get the strength to see it rosy before that?
During the war, you see, everybody hopes that the war is going to end. Sooner or later it has to end, because nothing is endless. And especially a atrocity like this war was, it cannot survive.
So you kept hope?
I kept hope, sure. That's
I'm glad you did. Thank you very much.
I thank you.